Seniors, do you still believe that putting everything in the fridge is always safe? You might want to rethink that by the end of this video. It may sound unbelievable, but there's a mistake that over 99% of adults over 60 are still making every single day: storing the wrong foods in the refrigerator. And no, it's not just ruining the flavor. These cold temperatures can quietly strip away nutrients, trigger harmful chemical reactions, and even increase the growth of dangerous bacteria. You won't see or smell these changes, but they can silently affect your digestion, heart health, and even your brain function over time. Today, we're revealing 9 common foods that should never go in the fridge, even though they seem harmless. And when we get to food number 2, you'll be shocked. It's sitting in almost every household refrigerator, doing more harm than good. Every point we cover is backed by peer-reviewed scientific research. But before we begin, drop a quick comment below and let us know, where are you watching from and how young are you feeling today? Have you ever noticed that some foods taste worse, spoil faster, or upset your stomach after being in the fridge? We read and respond to every single comment, because this isn't just a video, it's a community for those of us over 60 who want to live healthier, smarter, and stronger. And if you find this helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another health secret that no one else is talking about. Ready? Because the first food on this list might send you straight to your fridge for a double check. Let's dive in. Number 9, potatoes. Think keeping potatoes in the fridge is harmless? Think again. It might actually be turning them toxic. Here's what's really going on. When potatoes are stored at cold temperatures, like inside your refrigerator, their natural starches don't just sit there. Instead, they quickly convert into sugars, a process scientists call cold-induced sweetening. And while that might not sound dangerous, the real problem happens when you cook them. During high-heat cooking, those sugars react with amino acids inside the potato and form a chemical called acrylamide. And that's where it gets serious. According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, acrylamide is considered a probable carcinogen, meaning it may raise your risk of cancer. This isn't just theory. A major study from the University of Idaho looked at over 500 potato samples and found that cold storage caused sugar levels to spike by 300% in just 2 weeks, a dramatic increase no matter the potato variety. And beyond health risks, the texture and taste suffer too. Cold damages the potato's cellular structure, leaving you with a grainy, overly sweet, and strangely off-putting result. Ever mashed cold-stored potatoes and wondered why they tasted weird? That's the reason. Your fridge has been quietly ruining them from the inside out. So what should you do instead? Store your potatoes in a cool, dark, and dry space, ideally between 45 and 50 degrees F. A pantry, a basement corner, or even a cardboard box in a closet can work beautifully. But darkness is key because light exposure causes potatoes to develop a greenish layer of solanine, a naturally toxic compound that can upset your stomach, or worse. Use a paper bag or basket so the potatoes can breathe. Avoid plastic bags as they trap moisture and speed up spoilage. And here's a little-known trick. Never keep potatoes near onions. These two vegetables release gases that cause each other to spoil faster. Keep them at least 3 feet apart for best results. Handled the right way, potatoes can stay fresh for up to 3 months, but put them in the fridge and they'll be unusable in as little as 2 weeks. If you didn't expect potatoes to be this problematic, comment 9 below. It shows us you're here and learning. Number 8, bread. Most people think putting bread in the fridge keeps it fresher longer, but believe it or not, that's one of the fastest ways to ruin it. Because cold temperatures cause a chemical change in the starches inside the bread. It's called starch retrogradation. Basically, the starch molecules start to harden and squeeze out moisture, making the bread go stale far quicker than you'd expect. In fact, a study by the Institute of Food Technologists showed something shocking. Bread kept in the fridge becomes dry and tough 6 times faster than bread stored at room temperature. That's not a small difference. After just 3 days in the fridge, the bread turns stiff and crumbly, while the same loaf left on the counter stayed soft for up to a full week. The cold also breaks down the natural aroma compounds in bread. Once those compounds degrade, you're left with something that tastes flat, bland, like cardboard, and it's not your imagination. If you plan to eat it within a few days, keep it in a bread box or a paper bag at room temperature, somewhere cool and dry. The container should allow a little airflow to prevent mold, but still keep enough humidity to protect softness. But what if you won't finish the loaf in time? Freeze it. That's right. Freezing bread actually does a better job preserving both texture and flavor than refrigeration. Why? Because freezing is fast. It locks everything in before the moisture has a chance to escape. Just make sure to slice the bread first before freezing. That way, you can grab exactly what you need. No need to thaw the whole loaf. And here's a tip. Go straight from freezer to toaster. Don't leave it out to thaw. That's when things get soggy. Did this make you rethink bread storage? Comment 8 if you're still watching. It helps us keep making content that matters. Number 7. Honey. Honey is one of the few foods on earth that can last thousands of years without spoiling. In fact, archaeologists discovered jars of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs, over 3,000 years old, that were still safe to eat. That's how naturally resilient it is. But the moment you stick that jar in the fridge, things start to change. Fast. Cold temperatures cause honey to crystallize, turning that smooth golden liquid into a gritty, solid mess that's hard to spread and even harder to dissolve. It's not dangerous to eat, but the texture becomes unpleasant, and the honey loses its natural elegance. And every time you open a chilled jar, moisture creeps in, a process that slowly breaks down honey's powerful health properties. Honey gets its complex flavor from more than 180 distinct compounds. But when exposed to cold, those compounds degrade unevenly, leaving your once rich raw honey tasting flat and overly sweet, more like cheap syrup than nature's nectar. So what should you do? Keep your honey at room temperature, ideally between 64 and 75 degrees, 18 to 24 degrees. Store it in a tightly sealed jar, away from sunlight, which can also weaken its quality. If it crystallizes, don't toss it. Just warm the jar gently in a bowl of warm water and stir. It will return to its liquid state without losing its health benefits. Here's a final tip that few people know. The darker the honey, the higher its antioxidant content. But dark honeys are also more sensitive to cold, meaning refrigeration breaks down their nutrients even faster than in lighter varieties. But don't go anywhere yet, because the next avocados is something millions drink every morning, and the fridge may be destroying its soul without you knowing. Number 6. Coffee. Many people believe that storing coffee in the fridge helps preserve its freshness. It sounds logical, but in reality, it does the exact opposite. Coffee beans are highly absorbent. They act like little sponges, soaking up the odors of whatever's around them, and your fridge is full of competing smells, leftovers, cheese, sauces, vegetables. It's a noisy environment, and coffee absorbs it all. That's why your brew sometimes tastes a little off, even when you're using premium beans. The constant opening and closing of the fridge door causes tiny temperature fluctuations that lead to condensation inside your coffee bag or container. Over time, that hidden moisture speeds up oxidation, dulls the aroma, and in some cases, can even lead to mold. According to research from the Specialty Coffee Association, coffee beans stored in the fridge lose over 60% of their aromatic compounds in just 1 week. That's the heart of your coffee's character, gone before you've even brewed your first cup. The natural oils in coffee, which carry most of its rich, tend to solidify in cold environments. When you grind chilled beans, those oils don't extract properly, and what you get is a weak, hollow cup that tastes nothing like what you expected. So what's the right way to store your coffee? Room temperature is your best friend, ideally between 60 and 70 degrees. Keep it in an airtight, opaque container away from heat, light, and air. Buy only what you can use within 2 weeks of opening the bag. The longer coffee sits exposed to oxygen, the faster it deteriorates, even under ideal conditions. If you absolutely need to store coffee for longer periods, freezing is a better option than refrigerating, but only if you do it right. Divide your beans into weekly portions, seal them tightly in moisture-proof bags, and freeze them once. When it's time to use a portion, take it out, and never put it back. Refreezing causes irreversible moisture damage, and the delicate balance of flavor will be gone for good. Coffee fans, still here? Let us know with a 6 in the comments. Number 5. Garlic. Garlic is one of the most trusted ingredients in natural health, but storing it the wrong way can quietly strip it of what makes it so valuable. The most common mistake? Putting it in the fridge. At first glance, that might seem safe, but once garlic enters a cold, humid environment, things start to go wrong. It begins to sprout, they bring bitterness, and can upset your stomach. Worse, that moisture invites mold, and some strains can produce mycotoxins, toxins you definitely don't want in your kitchen. And here's what most people miss. Garlic's healing properties depend on a compound called allicin. A study from the University of California, Davis found that refrigeration cuts garlic's allicin content by half in just 10 days. That means all the immune support, heart protection, and antimicrobial power you count on, fading fast. The cold also wrecks its texture, turning firm cloves into mushy, sticky paste that's hard to chop and dulls your food's flavor. To keep garlic at its best, avoid sealed containers or plastic bags. Instead, store it in a breathable basket or mesh bag away from heat and light, ideally around 60 to 65 degrees. Stored properly, a full bulb can last up to 6 months. Once separated, aim to use the cloves within 10 days. One more secret? Room temperature garlic releases more flavor. That's why your dishes will taste richer, sharper, and far more satisfying when you skip the fridge. Keep watching. We're getting closer to the most shocking one yet. Number 4. Bananas. You've probably seen it happen. You place a perfectly good banana in the fridge, and by the next day, it looks like something out of a compost pile. Black, soft, and far from appetizing. Bananas are tropical by nature. Their biology isn't designed to handle cold temperatures. When exposed to anything below 56 degrees, their cells begin to collapse. Literally. The cell walls rupture, enzymes spill out, and the ripening process turns chaotic. Scientists refer to this as chilling injury. In fact, a study from the Queensland Department of Agriculture discovered that bananas kept in cold environments lose up to 80% of their vitamin C within just 5 days. And it gets worse. The fruit also stops producing additional nutrients during ripening. Normally, as a banana matures, it continues developing antioxidants and beneficial compounds, but cold storage brings that process to a halt. What about those dark spots? They're not just cosmetic flaws. They signal that the banana's natural defenses have broken down. Each brown patch represents dead tissue, areas that, while not always visible inside, can harbor bacteria or early-stage mold. So how should you treat your bananas if you want them to stay nutritious and delicious? Keep them at room temperature, ideally between 56 and 70 degrees, and allow them to ripen naturally. Hanging them on a banana hook is more than just decorative. It prevents bruising and allows ethylene gas, the compound bananas release to trigger ripening, to circulate properly. Here's a trick that grocery stores rarely share. To speed things up, place your bananas in a paper bag with an apple. To slow the process, pull the bunch apart and wrap each stem in plastic. This cuts down ethylene release by as much as 40%. And once your bananas are exactly how you like them, you can put them in the fridge for a day or two if needed. The skin will darken, but the fruit inside will stay surprisingly intact. Or better yet, peel and freeze them. Not only does this stop over-ripening in its tracks, but frozen bananas make incredibly creamy smoothies without needing ice. Number 3. Onions. It's one of the most common kitchen habits, tossing a few onions into the fridge. But what seems convenient at first may actually be the reason your recipes taste off, or worse, why your onions spoil faster than expected. Onions thrive in dry air, but the average fridge is about 95% humidity, far beyond what they can handle. In such a moist environment, the onion's outer layers soak up moisture, creating the perfect place for mold to grow. And some of these molds can release aflatoxins, a class of toxins that researchers consider extremely harmful. Even if no mold appears, the cold sets off internal changes. Onions begin converting starches into sugars, and according to a study from Texas University, after just 2 weeks, those sugar levels can spike by 270%. That transformation doesn't just make your onions sweeter, it can ruin the balance of your dishes. Once exposed to low temperatures, tiny ice crystals form inside the onion cells, breaking them apart from the inside. What's left is a mushy, watery bulb that won't brown or caramelize properly. To preserve their natural state, store whole onions in a cool, dry space with good airflow, ideally between 45 and 55 degrees Celsius. Avoid plastic. Use mesh bags, open baskets, or even old pantyhose to keep them breathing. Keep them away from potatoes too. Both release gases that speed up each other's decay. Now, once an onion is cut, that's a different story. Refrigeration becomes necessary. Wrap the unused portion in an airtight container and use it within 7 days to stay safe. Number 2, tomatoes. Out of all the foods people store the wrong way, tomatoes might be the most surprising. Researchers at the University of Florida found something most people would never expect. When tomatoes are kept in cold environments, specifically below 54 degrees, 12 degrees, they actually switch off the genes that create flavor. And once that happens, the damage is permanent. Even if you take the tomato back out and let it warm up, the flavor won't come back. It's gone for good. So you're left with a tomato that looks red and ripe, but tastes bland and watery. It also loses its firm texture because cold air causes tiny ice crystals to form between the tomato cells. These crystals tear through the fruit, leaving it soft, mushy, and grainy. That's why cold-stored tomatoes feel mealy when you bite into them. And for seniors especially, there's more to consider. Tomatoes are one of the best sources of lycopene, an antioxidant that supports heart health and may help protect against certain cancers. But here's the catch. Cold storage can reduce lycopene's effectiveness by up to 65%. Even worse, the enzymes your body needs to absorb what little lycopene is left, they're destroyed in the cold. So you're not just losing flavor, you're losing nutrition too. So how should you store tomatoes properly? Keep them at room temperature, ideally between 55 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 13 to 21 degrees. They need indirect light to stay fresh, but keep them out of direct sunlight, which can make them spoil faster. Also, never seal tomatoes in a plastic bag. As they ripen, they release a natural gas called ethylene. If trapped, this gas speeds up rotting. One bad tomato in a closed bag can ruin the whole bunch in less than a day. Use ripe tomatoes within 3 to 5 days. And if you can't eat them all in time, make a sauce and freeze it. Here's the good news. Cooked tomatoes actually make lycopene easier for your body to absorb, and freezing helps preserve that benefit. Number 1, avocados. We've saved the most important one for last, because what happens to avocados in the fridge is a total waste of a superfood. Avocados are packed with over 20 essential nutrients, including powerful antioxidants and healthy fats like oleic acid, which is especially important for brain health as we age. But the moment you put them in the refrigerator, especially when they're not fully ripe, those benefits start disappearing fast. Cold temperatures cause the good fats inside avocados to oxidize quickly, a process known as lipid peroxidation. Instead of helping your body, these fats break down and turn into free radicals, which can be harmful. In fact, researchers at Stanford University found that refrigerated avocados lose up to 90% of their antioxidant activity in just 4 days. That includes vital nutrients like vitamins E and C, which help reduce inflammation, protect your eyes, and improve how well your body absorbs other nutrients. But the damage doesn't stop there. The cold also activates an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase, the same one that causes browning. In warm air, it works slowly. But in the cold, it goes into overdrive, breaking down the inside of the fruit, damaging cell walls, and turning healthy compounds into bitter byproducts. That's why cold-stored avocados often taste off and lose that smooth, creamy texture. Instead of being rich and velvety, they turn stringy, watery, and oily, and almost impossible to mash. You'll notice it the moment you try to make guacamole. So how should you treat your avocados? Let them ripen naturally at room temperature, ideally between 65 and 75 degrees, 18-24 degrees. Leave them in a bowl out in the open, not in a sealed bag, so they get enough air. Want to ripen them faster? Place them in a paper bag with a banana. The natural gas from the banana, called ethylene, will speed up the process, sometimes cutting the whey into time in half. And what if you've already cut one and don't want it to go bad? Here's a simple trick. Keep the pit in the unused half, brush a little lemon juice over the exposed part, and store it in an airtight container with a slice of onion inside. The onion releases sulfur, which helps prevent browning without affecting the flavor. This method keeps the avocado fresh and green for up to 2 days at room temperature. And there you have it. 9 everyday foods that most people still store in the fridge without realizing the silent damage it's doing. So the next time you open your refrigerator, take a moment. Look again. A few simple adjustments could help you preserve more flavor, waste less food, and hold on to the health benefits that matter most. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next health tip that could quietly change your daily life. And we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 9 surprised you the most? And are there any food habits you've changed recently? Thanks for watching. And remember, small choices in your kitchen can lead to big improvements in your well-being.